Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. Something a little bit different today. Here in the UK, once again, popping out to the shops isn't on the cards. However, recently I did manage to get out to the shops and I happened to find something interesting. I found this, a bucket of 25 dragons from DreamWorks' How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World movie, and I have seen these around in several different shops. If you're in the UK, you may know TK Maxx, Home Bargains or B&M. All three of those stores have had this bucket at some point, discounting it, trying to get it off the shelves. This is good news for people who play D&D or people who play Rangers of Shadow Deep like myself, because it means I picked up this bucket of figures for $3.99. A little while back on my channel, I showed some blind bag dragons from the same movie. They were pre-painted. They were a little bit cutesy. They were decent. They were quite nice quality, but probably a little bit too cutesy. But this bucket contains unpainted miniatures in a slightly different scale, and they are generally more useful. So I thought I would show them off on the channel, and you can make your own mind up. First of all, you may have noticed the lid is molded plastic and it has this really cool emblem on it, and straight away I thought to myself, that is something that, if I take it off the pot and show you, it's not particularly deep. It kind of looks like a shield. I guess it is a shield. It's supposed to look like a shield, but that's something that I can set in a piece of scenery. I can use that as a centerpiece for a temple or a dragon's lair or something. I can make some use out of that as is. That's really nicely done, and yeah, it's probably a little bit cutie again. This is from a DreamWorks cartoon aimed at a younger audience, so everything is a little bit cutified, but that's really nice, and with a bit of paint on it, a little bit of washing and stuff, I think that's going to look pretty decent as some part of some kind of scenery element that I will make at some point. Now, as far as I can tell, each bucket contains a random selection. No two buckets have exactly the same mix. Colours and sculpts will vary, and they are divided into two types, really. You have the dragons and then you have the humanoids, and for reasons best known only to the manufacturers, the humanoid characters are way bigger than the dragons. This means the human characters are probably not going to be a lot of use to a lot of people, unless you are going to be fielding a lot of giants, I guess, in D&D. There are a few that I can probably use. This is Hiccup. I got 2 of this sculpt, and this is probably the worst sculpt. Which is weird considering Hiccup is the star of the show. I can compare him to a couple of characters that I have here on my desk. Our Barbarian from Hero Quest, who I will be painting up shortly. And you can see there's a massive difference, but if you need a giant for D&D, you can probably get away with using this guy. And here he is beside a D&D dwarf. I got only one of this guy, and this is the point where my knowledge of the names of the characters fails me. I pretty much know Hiccup and Toothless. Although I do enjoy the movies, I don't know many of the characters. And you can see that we're in sort of army men plastic rubbery territory, but the actual sculpting on the miniatures is surprisingly nice. I think there's a lot of detail there. Yeah, the face, again, has that slightly DreamWorks cute style to it, rather than a more realistic look. You can see him here against the Barbarian. I got one of this character, and I think this one probably would be really good as a giant for something like a Hero Quest homebrew campaign or a D&D campaign. There's just something about this one. I think it will paint up quite nicely. It's quite cool stance, and it's not something that's going to look particularly out of place in D&D. Here's our Barbarian. I got one of this character. I think she's called Astrid, and this is a really nice miniature. I really like this one. You will notice that they all have a little bit of moulded trademarking on them that will need to be removed. Here she is standing next to our Barbarian, and you could probably get away with using her as a D&D Barbarian in her own right. I got one of this guy, and I just really like this sculpt. Yeah, it's very cartoony, but I think it's really fun, and it's a decent size. I reckon you could paint that up as an ogre or a troll or something. I think it would probably be good as a villain character if you play like the My Little Pony role-playing game. He is suitably imposing compared to our Hero Quest Barbarian. He's large enough to step on a dwarf. That's good enough. The last humanoid character I got is actually a really nice sculpt, but I don't think he's going to come out very well on camera because they have cast him in this clear plastic, and I think he'd be a very nice ghost of a frost giant. Or you could just paint him up as a frost giant or something. He is missing a hand. He's got a mace for a hand, or a stone hammer for a hand, and a missing foot, and a very jolly face. And again, there's a fair bit of flex in these weapons and stuff, but no more than you see in the miniatures for things like the Castle Ravenloft board game. And here he is against our Barbarian. We're on to the good bit, we're on to the dragons, and I got 3 of this one, and this is probably the least useful of the dragon sculpts. I'm not entirely sure what you could do with that, but it's a fun sculpt. I will compare him to Hiccup so you can see how much smaller the dragons are than the humanoid characters. There we go, this must be a baby. But he's probably big enough to harass our Barbarian. This is quite a solid chunk of plastic. There's some flex in the wings, but not a lot of bend anywhere else. And he is stamped on the bottom, and he's got a little bit of embossing on the bottom, but you're not going to see that. And he will fit quite happily on a 25mm base. I got 2 of this double-headed dragon. Got 1 in green and 1 in blue. Some pretty nice detailing on these, considering they are cheap plastic miniatures. These are certainly comparable to miniatures in some board games, obviously not the really high-end ones. And here he is standing next to our Barbarian. We're getting to the really good ones now. I got 4 of these, and they are really nice. I think these are really nicely sculpted. I like the wings. I like the faces and stuff, and because they aren't pre-painted, I think you can do something with the painting on those to make them look suitably menacing. They're easily going to fit on a 25mm base, or you could just leave them on the integral bases they already have. They're a decent size for like infant dragons, or you could use them as stand-ins for other type of winged creatures. Any winged gribblies you need, really. Here he is, standing next to the Barbarian. And something else that I was thinking as well, even though not all of these dragons may be usable, they are a good source of bits. You can cut the heads off these and use them on your bases. You can cut the wings off, and you can make special characters. I mean, check this out. I mean, you can, if I just put the Barbarian there, you can see you could easily attach those wings and make yourself a winged character, a dragonborn of some kind. I got 4 of this one, and this is actually one of the dragons that I got in the pre-painted range as well, but this is on a smaller scale. He's easily going to fit on the 25mm base if you don't want to just leave him on the base he's on. I got 2 orange and 2 red of these. And again, they're nicely detailed, and you know, you can cut those wings off and use them in other projects. Yeah, they're neat. He's also got quite an evil looking face. With a bit of paint on that, you can probably make him look quite intimidating. Although, of course, on the small scale. He's not going to be your big bad in the dungeon, but a suitable minion. A good baby wyvern. We're nearly there. This is the last of them. I got 4 of these, 2 in blue, 2 in black, and they are actually little sculpts of Toothless. But these are probably my favourite in the set because they're small enough that they don't have a lot of overemphasized cute detailing, and you can use them for things like mutated bats and that sort of thing. I'm probably going to use these instead of flies in Rangers of Shadowdeep, and also there's a scenario where there's a vulture that flies across the board, and you know, one of these would be a good substitute for that vulture. They are the smallest things in the tub. You can see here they are much more on giant bat scale rather than dragon scale. But I really like those, and I thought I would be able to use those in Rangers of Shadowdeep quite nicely. Making my $3.99 investment worthwhile, I think. But that is that. 25 miniatures in a tub with a nice embossed lid. These appear to be in numerous supply and getting cheaper all the time, and I do think they are a worthwhile investment. Whether you cut the miniatures up and use bits of them, whether you paint them up as is, whether you give them to your kids so they can play dragons on the floor rather than trying to play with your Games Workshop stuff, whatever you do with them, I think you can't go wrong. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you've really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.